Welcome back, everybody. This is the first podcast in quite a while, and I'm here with Ivan and Brent, and we wanted to do a podcast and catch you guys up on what we've been up to this year and what is coming in 2025. We had a really heavy year of filming, and I think we only released about 12 videos on the YouTube channel. So we have a lot more coming down the pipeline.
How many?
We have 10 videos that are in the queue on hard drives, filmed, and some of them are already being edited through. So we also just got done with a year-end review here in Denver, going over last year and making a game plan for next year. And so we wanted to just hop on the mics and catch you guys up to speed on what's been happening here behind the scenes. And also, this is the first, I guess, podcast on the main channel. You know, this is something that we have been throwing around of maybe bringing back the podcast if we have the bandwidth for it, and what that might look like if it's on the main channel versus our podcast channel. So you guys tell us what you think, if you'd want to see it on the main channel or if we should keep it separate. But without further ado, let's dive into it, fellas.
Yeah.
What you want to catch us up to speed? Where are we at right now, Brent?
Year-wise?
Yeah, and where are we at in Denver
the world?
and in the world and what we're doing?
Yeah, State of the Union, Brett.
State of the Union. Well, it seems like this kind of year-end, catch up on what we did this year, look at the channel, look at the, how we're all feeling about workload and whatnot. Planning session. The second year we've done it. First year for Ivan. It seems to be quite helpful. Although last year we had a good planning session, and we filmed more than we've ever filmed, or you guys did. And we didn't post as much. So a little bit of an overcorrect there on like getting footage into the hard drives. But I don't know, after this week, we think we've got a plan to be able to post more videos. We kind of set up a little bit of a plan to like test out for the first 3-4 months of the year, see if we can maintain that. Like, if we maintain that, you guys are in for a treat, because there's going to be a lot of Wildfly stuff.
Mm-hmm. The cadence of it.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the things that has been most challenging for me over the years is I feel like I'm a creative person, but not as consistent of a person. And that consistency is always it's always a challenge when it comes to filming and editing, especially with what we do with fly fishing, because a lot of times you're going on a 5 plus day trip, and then you have to come back into this world of editing, and sometimes it takes a day or two to adjust back to getting in the project.
Well, yeah, you're living on a boat for a week, or walking around a river, camping in the woods for a week, and then you got to come back home and stare at a screen for like long days. That's a vast difference right there. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, our lives are so hard.
It's a tough life. It's a tough life.
I mean, I agree though. I agree. It is always tough to come back from a trip and like immediately jump back in the edit. But yes, our lives are so tough.
Yeah. But I should say, I probably didn't emphasize it enough in the intro, but the videos we have coming, we've got some bangers.
Yeah.
Like, we have some absolute bangers coming. I've been struggling to focus on one of them at a time because I keep pulling up another project file. Let me just go look at some of the footage here from Minnesota, and then getting all stoked about it, and which I think is kind of good, to take a little break from the being in one project, and I don't know, getting to shift your perspective a little bit. But I think one of the big things that we have coming up is our Boone film premiere in February. February 1st, coming back to see all our homies in Boone, North Carolina, premiering High Country Homecoming at the Appalachian Theater, which is like an iconic theater. So it's pretty amazing that we're able to do this and like be at that venue. And I think it's gonna be a fun way to see people in person and get to celebrate the film.
No.
And I think this video in particular, the Boone one feels very much like an OG wildfly video, but just elevated a little bit from the early days.
Well, you guys have all grown up a little bit. You know, you're a little further on in the angling career. You might be looking at boats instead of walking around the rivers a little more.
Right.
I got to peek at a few of the scenes there. That should be a fun one.
Yeah.
Plus, it's truly a homecoming. I mean,
Yeah.
Like Boone premiere for Wildfly, I feel like that's huge.
I know.
Huge for the story. Huge for the program.
Yeah, do you think everyone on the East Coast feels like you bailed on them by moving out west, or what?
Traitor.
Because you still make a few trips back there every year.
I keep going back, man. I think I've made probably a trip a year back, at least to do a video. Like I'd go back to see family, but yeah, I love it, man. And I think that's hopefully what resonates with this film is, even though I've moved out west and you get the grand rivers and these grand landscapes and everything, there's still a charm to that, those small Appalachian creeks. And I was still so giddy.
Big intimacy guy.
We're getting super intimate here on the pod, boys.
Well, I mean, they're intimate streams.
Oh yeah.
That's more of the.
No, I know.
More of the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but we also get into canoes, and it was cool going to fish some of these areas that I had never been to, or maybe stretches of rivers that just kind of put off as, oh, these are just warm water bass water, and there's no trout in there, or you can't access it because of private land. And one of the big things to realize is, if you look into the actual regulations in North Carolina, if a stream is navigable, you can access and fish that creek. So you can, even if it's waiting, so you could take a canoe down a creek into private land and anchor up and fish. Yeah. And I think there's some of the clubs in North Carolina who own private water and have trout clubs, I think are getting there's like lawsuits going on or something. Yeah. I'm not going to dive into the details because I don't know the details. But it was interesting that this whole time, in college and growing up in Boone, I just thought you couldn't fish those, period. But if you do have a way to get through the river and it's considered navigable, you can get in, float it, fish it, and I think it's going to open up it's opened up a lot of opportunities for the Due South crew.
Yeah, that's you were talking about new rivers. You've been running the channel for 10 years now, and it's almost
11.
This would be 11, huh? Yeah. It seems like at least half of the videos, maybe more, are like new to you rivers.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Like, you're really casting a wide net on the destinations.
Trying. I think that's what makes it fun and exciting. You go to experience something new. I think capturing the newness or the novelty of it is, and bringing people along with you to learn. It sometimes feels weird going into film something that it's like, I have this totally figured out. It doesn't feel like maybe a challenge.
You don't want to walk onto the river and just assert dominance every now and then?
No, I would honestly, I do want to. Like, I want, but that's how I feel in Boone. This film, it felt like the fishing was just on.
Yeah.
And it was the dry dropper, light tippet, technical stuff, but a little tint in the water, and we just kind of hammered them. Yeah. So it felt good to have a trip where you're just crushing.
I am good.
No.
I am enough.
But Boone was awesome, but I mean that's one of 10.
Yeah.
What
should we go through the lineup? Or do you want to?
Yeah, let's breeze over it.
Okay.
Just to give some idea of what's to come.
Yeah, so we have South Dakota. We have Minnesota.
2 Minnesota videos. Yep.
There's the Tetons. There's your brother's video, which is
special.
Some more Wyoming.
Maybe a PB fish in there.
Yeah, special moments
maybe
there.
A big dog in there.
Yeah.
And then Australia, which is 3 videos?
Mm-hmm.
What are we at now? What's the count?
Oh, that puts us up to like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Well, we're missing Maine.
Maine brook trout. We brought a Patreon member to brook trout,
Yeah.
or to Maine. Shout out to Willie.
And also to brook trout.
Yeah, brought him the brook trout.
What are we missing? South Dakota for is probably going to be called most boring state.
Yeah.
I love that concept.
We
There's what's the 9th one? I mean the 10th one. What's the 10th one? We're full on planning brain and we can't remember the 10th one. This is bad.
Oh, Mav.
No, Mav was the
it's
second.
probably Boone.
Boone. Yeah, Boone.
Yeah.
It is Boone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we've already talked about it.
Yeah.
Our brains aren't that scrambled. We're on it.
Yeah. What I mean, looking back, I know you guys weren't on every single one, but what are some of the highlights or one of your favorites that you can think of from this year?
Pretty obvious.
Yeah, I know for you it's very obvious.
Yeah.
I think I only went on one this year. Maybe.
It's a good one to go on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, nah, you guys do all the trout fishing.
Yeah.
You're going to fish GTs? All right, I'll go.
I can make some time in my schedule for that, I suppose. It was nice of you to grace us with your presence, though. I do feel like you added some stuff to the trip. You know, it was great having you.
That was an awesome trip. Yvonne and I got to be roommates for like 2 weeks.
Yeah. How was that?
That was nice. And then outside of being roommates, we spent 14 days in a 19-foot boat.
Yeah.
Yes.
For all of the day.
Yeah. Right. I think we missed one day.
Yeah, we did have one weather day.
that day
one
hurt.
weather day. Yeah, that was tough for Scotty.
Was tweaking.
Yeah. Yeah. He was pacing around. 13 different ideas would come up. It was impressive.
Listen, it's just hard. It's hard when I don't catch me complaining. This is so I'm so like privileged in saying this, but when you're in Australia and there's an off day, like I know an off day is so essential.
Yeah.
But I had such a tough time not going fishing that one day when we decided to.
I think he was like, when we were planning the trip, he was like, yeah, there's probably going to be like 3, 4, like possibly 5 weather days where we're not going to fish. And we managed only one weather day.
Yeah.
Can you imagine,
Yeah, I mean,
Scotty?
I think part of that was a war of attrition, though. Like Scotty's excitement for fishing certainly got us out on the water more days than we would have been on the water if there was no Scotty.
No doubt.
Like shout out to Scotty for full froth, because without full froth we would have fished like maybe half the time.
You're probably right. Yeah.
And like while some of those days were tough, some of those days still worked out. You know, they still produced at least entertaining moments and memories.
Lots of entertaining
You
moments.
can't go anywhere without some memories, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
Huge shout out to our buddy Brooksy. You guys should go check his YouTube channel out. He
His Instagram.
lives in Australia and his Instagram,
Yeah.
and he's just the saltwater king out there.
The excitement king.
The excitement king, the froth cafe, actually,
Yep.
on Instagram. But
2.
Froth cafe.
2.
Yeah, I mean,
Which
dude,
apparently has nothing to do with fly fishing.
yeah.
Just an aside. I think we talk about it in the podcast, so we'll have to share that piece of info for that.
Yeah, we have a pod with Brooksy.
No.
We dive deep on the trip and go into a little more depth, which will come out with that series. But I think maybe one of the challenging parts of the position we're in is we came back from Australia so fired up about the footage and so fired up about the trip, and we wanted to just dive right into the video, obviously, because you're just excited about it. But knowing that we have this huge queue of videos, it's a little daunting. 'Cause you're like, well, probably not going to get to it until the winter now.
Yeah. And now it's more like the spring.
Yeah.
Now that we actually planned it out.
Right.
But I mean, I spent that first week after coming back, when I wasn't sleeping at weird hours, I was like looking on the timelines, just like enjoying some of the footage. That trip was amazing. I mean, obviously that was the highlight, but I also think like there's so many gems from so many of those trips, right? Like I think the Midwest trip was awesome. Like we had a banner day on the Mississippi. That was awesome. I also think that Maine trip was so cool. There were so many, like the number of twists and turns and surprises in the wildfly universe, I think is pretty cool. So I'm excited to sort of have that one come to fruition as well.
Mm-hmm. I think the Maine trip was a cool experiment or example of the trip having these like jukes and jags and surprises. I feel like we put a lot of effort into the actual experience.
Jags.
Yeah. maybe
I
maybe
don't
that's-
recall any jagging.
yeah. Moving on.
Yeah.
But the actual experience and the people involved in curating the experience of the trip was really special.
Yeah.
And I hope that comes across in the film.
Yeah.
You know, instead of, just going out to fish for a video, which is still fine.
Yeah.
There's this kind of a bigger story behind it. So
Yeah.
With some great fishing.
yeah, with some great fishing.
Yeah.
I think it's really funny, interesting how you can get put on a boat on the Great Barrier Reef and just be frothed up to go fish, and then put in like a small Appalachian creek and have that same we got to get to the next hole. I want to keep fishing, go.
Unrelenting froth from the Scotty.
Yep. And then it doesn't stop, because then you put him in the edit room and he's just like frothing about the story and piecing all this stuff together. It's just riding the high, baby.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's part of what's, I feel so lucky to be in this position and have had these experiences. And I think that excitement is really what has driven all of this. We joke about irrational froth, right? There's been irrational amount of time put into the videos, put into the trips, put into just obsessing over this and making this, a thing, that I think that's like what you have to do. You have to find that thing that
froths you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To really
find the thing that froths you.
Find the thing that froths you. That's that's the key to life, boys. And, well, thanks for listening, everybody.
Solved it.
We'll talk to you in 2026.
Yeah.
Maybe never. We just solved life, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Find the thing that froths you.
But I do want to give you guys your flowers. Ivan stepped in this year. This was your first year of being, on the team part-time, but more on a consistent basis. Yeah. And the filming and the editing workload that you're able to provide allowed us to film more videos than we've ever filmed, and allowed us to still put out videos this year. So all of the fancy graphics and the incredible color grading and titles is all thanks to Ivan. I want to give you your flowers there because you crushed it.
Should I curtsy?
What's that?
Should I curtsy?
Not to mention an epic character to add to the channel.
The big horse.
The fat 40-year-old guy. Everyone needs a fat 40-year-old friend.
Dude, the age thing is an interesting deal, because most of your buddies are mid-20s, maybe I'm around 30, and
around
doesn't
30.
really reach that much further than 30.
Right.
Yeah.
And now you got
ancient wisdom.
With wisdom coming in. That's right.
Wisdom
and stupidity. I've amassed great amounts of stupidity over my 40 years. So. What do you mean around 30, Brent? What's that mean?
I'm 31.
Okay. You're gonna go with
didn't feel necessary to be that specific.
You're gonna go with I'm 29 for the rest of time, classic.
Now throughout your 30s,
classic
you're
bit.
just gonna say around 30 until you're 40.
I don't know why I said that.
Hey man, I'm adjacent to 30s, my 30s as well. So
pretty darn close.
Yeah, I'm getting up there now too. I'm getting close.
yeah.
Entering my upper 20s.
That's right. You can rent a car.
Turns out. Yeah. But also, just a huge shout out to you, Brent, for helping organize a lot of the chaos this year and working a lot of the logistics and behind the scenes. I think that is really what we identified this week in particular, how important that part of this is. Because it's not just, hey, let's go out, film this video in my studio or film this video out in the, whatever. It's you're booking and you're planning an experience, right? Which we forget sometimes is part of the process. And then you're having to go execute it, travel, execute it, film, be in the moment, capture everything you need. Right. And then you're coming back and you have to organize the footage and you have to edit it and then you have to put it out. So it's this huge process, and sometimes it's always bigger than we think it is. And so I think one of the goals maybe this week was to how do we find the core of what that process is.
Right.
I think left to our own devices, Scotty and I would put out 12 videos and
less.
want to put out more, but we'd go film too much, and then
we can put out 20.
And then we'd be like, And then we might get into an edit and it might take us twice the amount of time. But I think that's one of the things we identified is like, let's this year really try to put out more. Like, let's bring the audience more.
But what does that mean?
Sometimes it means you maybe less perfectionism on our parts. And like, I think there's no perfect film, but we certainly probably get like we each have our pet peeves, right? That we need this to be this way.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be some times when we can't have it that way if we want to continue bringing the amount that we want to bring. So
yeah.
and it would be interesting to see how that unfolds, like how it's received. If it's only something that bothers us, it's like that sound or that like graphic isn't quite what I want it to be, or the grade isn't quite where I want it to be. Like, how much will that actually impact the final product in the end?
I bet some of the viewers are into like filmmaking and probably understand the editing process a little bit better than the others. But yeah, the difference between a project taking 2 weeks and 4 weeks may or may not be noticeable to half the audience.
Right.
And yeah, I think that's if we want to post more video, I mean, it's basically what we covered this week is if we want to get more videos out, that perfection, like you're talking about, that little sound bit or
right.
you know, a little thing here and there, we may have to avoid that to get out more videos.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to try it out for the first little bit, and hopefully you guys will let us know if you notice, if you care.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather have more or would you rather have closer to perfection? I'm excited to see what since we've kind of put some constraints on you guys, what the final product looks like and if it's good enough or not.
Yeah.
And I still think they're going to be amazing films.
Oh, totally.
You know, I think you do need to give yourself a deadline with any project though, or else it just won't be finished.
Right.
And I think we can use the JD film as an example, which was the last, I guess, new one that we put out. And I'm so proud of it. And I know you are too, of the final result, but we went into that film, like we didn't really have a plan. We just wanted to go film with JD. Right. And get to hang out with JD. And it turned into this documentary essentially that took us months of editing. You know, it took way longer than we expected. And that, you know, that kind of when you're living right here in front of you, you don't see what that's gonna maybe the repercussions of that.
I don't know if it's if it's a bad thing. I mean,
no.
It's just a trade-off.
It's a trade-off.
It's a trade-off. Do we want, you know, really, really documentary style films out there for everyone, or do we want, you know, some of them to just be a little faster and fun and maybe a little less perfect in
a little less heady
in the nuance? Yeah.
And I think part of it too is working the muscle. You know, if we're doing these bigger docs, you know, only you're not getting the reps in of completion.
Right.
And so there's something to the feeling that you get when you finish and you export and you publish it and you're like, okay, on to the next one. And, you know, I guess we can go into it, but the series, it was a one-off video I did in 2023 called the Fly Cup Diaries. And the premise of it was I just wanted to simplify my gear down and I wanted to go on a more close to home trip. And because I guess the idea is sometimes when you bring a lot of gear with you, you know, fishing gear, filming gear, whatever it is, it can actually slow you down. Like you think you're trying to get the best stuff, or that'll help you get the best stuff. But with fishing, it's so fleeting. You got to be in the moment a lot of times. So I really want to bring that series back and turn it into just a consistent series that is kind of maybe the
series or like a format of a type
like
of
a
video.
format. Yeah, format. But it's kind of down to the core of what's the simplest form of wildfly video.
Right.
It still hits the same marks, but it's just simplified a little bit.
Yeah.
So
sweet.
And we've taken some inspiration from, you know, outside of the fishing space, sort of to identify that as a potential format for videos. I think that's been the coolest part, is like trying to look at what we did this past year, and then how can we refine what we did, and what are the formats we can choose, and like when do we use the more documentary style, when do we use, like, let's be more selective about it. And I think that's going to be huge for us to be able to bring more stuff to the people. Like, I think the idea of putting out 20 videos in a year, I both think it's like oh yeah, we can definitely do that, and then like the other side of my brain's like, oh my god, there's no way, we have no chance. But the froth brain is like full on, like, yeah, of course we can do that, there's no problem.
Yeah.
And I think bringing 20 would be awesome. I think I'm super excited for this, like, next couple months to try to challenge ourselves. And
You
really
think we could take down the big fly fishing channels, or at least compete with them on a subscriber level?
Right.
Yeah.
Goals.
What are we at? 175?
Something
like that.
around there.
Guys, we need to get to 300.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have bigger goals ahead of us, but 300 is our goal. 300,000 subscribers. And I know there's folks out there that aren't subscribed. And if you're not, help us reach that goal. And
what do you think that takes, though?
Do we need
in
more
reality?
wigs? Is it more wigs?
Wigs would be good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to compete with the mop Scotty's got going
Yeah.
on.
It's been
kinda cleaned
tamed.
up.
It's been tamed recently. I got a haircut. You should have seen it like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, I know. It was. We were on Zoom, and I was like, "Oh man, it is full mop, like
Full mop.
Put it, like, hang him by his feet and just sort of wipe the floor, would be fine."
Yeah, I went back for Thanksgiving, and my folks were like, "Dude, you don't look like."
Your mom said, "Dude, Scotty, bro, get that mop under control, dude."
You are a homeless person.
No, what do you think that takes, though? Because the fly fishing niche on YouTube is small. I mean, I think the biggest channel there's Mad River at like 250. Not that subscribers mean everything, but it is kind of
they do.
It's a fun metric to look at, and you guys put a lot of hard work in. It's like an easy number for you to look at and say, like, oh yeah, like the people are liking what we do. We should keep doing it.
Yeah.
Is that just posting more videos? What is it?
Well, I think the big thing and this is, at the end of the day, it's not about numbers. It's not about subscribers. I think what we've identified is we want to really refine this process so we can do it over and over, and we can go into a shoot and know roughly how much time it's going to take. And but I think the main thing is I just have felt a little disconnected from the audience this year because of the space out between videos. And I think consistency in making people feel more a part of the community. And obviously we have talked about doing more in-person events, and just involving, having people be able to come be involved a little bit more.
Yeah, actually, that's a good little sidebar. In-person events.
Yeah.
We talked about internally, we kind of set a goal to do 2 to 4 of them this year. If we're going to put out a lot of videos, that probably lowers the amount of in-person things we have the bandwidth for. But Boone is obviously one that's on the calendar. One we talked about is like a camping meet and greet.
Mm-hmm.
Would you guys show up to a field in the middle of the mountains and hang out and camp with us for a night? Is it possible to to find a piece of property that would allow enough people?
Yep.
How do we kind of keep that number of people down? Assuming there's, public lands probably don't want a couple hundred people just like rolling up onto it. But yeah, that's kind of an idea that's kicking around in our heads. Let us know what you guys think about that.
Are we in any danger of having someone offer up their awesome property?
If we got anyone out there in the West, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Utah.
Yeah,
Colorado.
I think Colorado's not a bad option either.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's an idea. The film premieres, seems like you guys have a ton of fun when we do put on a film premiere. They're a bit of work for us to put on, but we could probably swing another 1 or 2 of those.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, we talked about potentially doing one in the fall. Obviously, saying that now is, it's more realistic. But if we do plan ahead and we plan it out right, I think it could be a possibility. I mean, I think we got so much energy from the Salt Lake and Denver premieres last year with the Hope and High Water that, coming off that, it's like, how do we do more of this?
Yeah.
We need to figure this out. And this year got ahead of, or just got away from us with filming.
Frothing.
Truthfully.
Frothing, dude.
Filming and frothing. And I think a big thing too that we're aiming for is trying to eliminate distractions. You know, I think this whole kind of journey in a way is you're doing a lot of experimentation, right? And I think it's very clear though this year what our goals are with, we really want to focus back in on the YouTube channel and these videos. This is the core of what we do. This is what gives us the most energy. And looking back, you know, there's just certain things that have happened or things that we do on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis that can be distractions. You know, figuring out the merch process, apparel. Sorry. The apparel process.
Wisdom coming in. Call it apparel.
Yeah. That's right. And just focus. I think that's a big thing. For our ADHD brains, it can be a little tricky.
It's always the hardest challenge. It's a lifelong challenge, Scotty.
It is. It is.
If you figured it out before me, though, I'd be sick if you shared the answer.
I'll make sure I let you know. But
just
I'm
shoot
still
me a text and then maybe an email too, and then I'll see it eventually. You know.
Don't send me an email. I probably won't look at it.
Yeah. That goes in the spam for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think just I don't know. It's training that no muscle to work a little bit better and taking that extra couple seconds or a couple of minutes to think about, do I really need to be working on this or should I be working on this other thing?
Should I be deep diving into this random texture that I want to put behind photos that are going to appear for maybe 5 seconds in this 45-minute film? Or should I work on color grading the rest of the film? Which one should I do? No, I think this texture is going to be so sick. I know it exists. I'm going to find it.
You're going to find it.
An hour later, I've found it. And no one noticed it. Because only I cared about it. But, whatever.
You're just
Scotty
searching
didn't
the
say,
comments, looking like there's going to be one in there for
Please
this.
someone comment on the texture.
Timestamp 44 minutes.
Scotty, when he gave me my flowers, he didn't mention the texture in the background or the flash. I was so pumped when I found a old film roll of it was film burns and stuff like that, but it was in this archival setting, and it was basically audio meters and audio call outs, and it felt like such a great burn to bring in during the old JD, and it's no one noticed that. That was absolutely a hill that I was so pumped on that, and nobody noticed that at all.
You know, it's so funny, and this is, my mom will send me podcasts or Instagram bits about ADHD.
Yeah.
And they say how, folks with that just have a very good ability to connect things that are not related.
For sure.
And so this is a great example of that. It probably, the goal of editing, right? You don't want people to notice.
You're right. Of course.
You were able to connect these two things.
I was so locked in on that.
The graphics did look sick. The JD film looks like a real documentary you could see on Netflix. Yeah. And I think that's what we identified this year too. I think my strength in the edit is what we call the radio edit, which is building out more of the story, not as much visual focus, just sound and story feel. And then you really excel at adding graphics. So if there's a graphic or if there's old B-roll that we need to throw in, I just leave a little text note on DaVinci.
Yep. We have a good system going. We're really building on this system. I'm excited to see how it all progresses. The challenge of the 20 videos, but the challenge of it's not the 20 videos necessarily that's the clear and present danger. It's the next 3 months. That first sprint of 10, 12 videos, because we're going to film other videos in the next 3, 4, or 5 months or whatever. But that first sprint, I feel like it's going to really sort of test us in a positive way. And if you're not testing yourself, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, how did you feel about this year? Stepping in and being a part of, the editing process.
Yeah.
What did you learn? What did you feel like was surprising? And how do you feel like you are, or where do you feel like you're at right now after last year?
Yeah. I like to think that I've improved. That's always a goal, is to improve in whatever you're doing. like, look, I've been making fly fishing videos, films, shorts for like 15 years. And that hasn't been my full-time job for 15 years. I've been able to do it more often than like I've had jobs where I've been able to do it, been able to flex that muscle. But this year specifically, I feel like has been awesome. It's been an opportunity to grow. I feel like I've learned a lot from you. I feel like I've learned a lot, just, sort of giving myself feedback. But like, I feel like the process this year has been, we've been so focused on story and these bigger films, and I think it's going to be fun to break it up and sort of like pick and choose our battles a little bit more. I'm excited about the next year. I think it's like anytime you challenge yourself to grow, it's a positive. And so I think this next couple months is like a real challenge for us to be able to say no to ourselves and like get this stuff out and let the people enjoy it and not get in our own ways. But yeah, I'm super pumped on being part of the team, and I was excited to share what we've done and what we're going to do. So big tings.
Big
Tings.
It's got to be a little different, working on videos for a huge audience and like a very engaged and awesome audience.
For sure.
Change your mindset in the edit at all?
I mean, it may be, there's certainly times when you're like, man, like this is a lot of people are gonna see this. Like my name's gonna be on this. Like, oh God.
Everybody's gonna see this audio transition blur.
Right. Someone's gonna pick out these faults and is gonna like nail them. Like I'm gonna see a comment and it's gonna just break my heart.
Should we transition back to some fishing talk now so we don't lose half the people?
Yeah.
Well, if you're just tuning in, we're getting back into the podcast.
We're talking not fishing yet.
Yeah. What was the most fun? You guys went on a lot of trips this year.
Yeah.
How often do you get to fish? I mean, obviously, like when you show up on camera, you're fishing, but is there any fun fishing that goes on the trips? Was there let's exclude saltwater from this conversation because we all know that was like really memorable. But what was there any standout moments fishing wise this year? I mean,
the Mississippi Day was amazing.
Why? What happened on that day? Give a little teaser.
Yeah. Look, smallmouth bass are cool. Like they're one of the coolest freshwater fish you can find.
Why?
They eat cool things and they eat cool ways and they're strong and they look cool. And I think that's cool.
Predator guy.
Yeah.
Big
predator guy. Big predator guy. They eat poppers, they eat streamers, they eat they eat nymphs, but no one fishes for them with nymphs because they eat all those other things. I love topwater. I love topwater eats. I think topwater eats are the best. Like the reason I fly fish is because of the visuals. I love seeing things eat things. I love
aggression. Predator guy, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I was eating, Thai food yesterday at lunch.
Off the top of the table.
Yeah. But there's nothing cooler than a smallmouth, throwing the cast into a pocket. You deliver the fly in the pocket and then twitch and just explosion. Like I think that's so cool. And we had there's 10 hours or 8 hours from that day, and like some of the coolest eats of the year came during that one day on the Mississippi. And so I'm pumped on that. I got to fish a little bit, but even just seeing Scotty like throw it into a pocket and be like, "Ooh, it's coming." It's coming. And then when it wasn't, just ultimate disappointment. Like, what? Are you kidding me? There's no way there's not a fish in there, dude. There's no way. Come on, Scotty. Twitch it better, dude. God. I'm so used to being behind the camera and like getting to like critique people's fishing and like be like, oh dude, that was horrible, and then just like having no repercussions. But being in wildfly videos and having to fish has been like, damn, like I have to put it on the line now. Like this is horrible.
Bahamas,
get on the
dude,
bow.
we totally forgot about Bahamas. That
Oh,
happened
dude, yeah.
this year.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, I put that on the line and stunk for 10 days.
I don't need to read the book.
Yeah, 10 days of horrible fishing, and then eventually like wasn't horrible for a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's
part
weird.
of the
It's
fun of
weird
fishing.
being in front of camera sometimes because I've always filmed.
Big behind the camera guy.
Yeah.
I used to make GoPro videos back in the day, and that was me fishing, but like much smaller stakes, you know?
But obviously, it's fun to show your personality. Like
Yeah.
you are a very just like fun person to be around, and especially for fishing. You know, and there's been some moments this year that we've captured that are just absurd and hilarious.
Yeah.
You-
Sometimes you got to pump, dude.
Sometimes you gotta pump, and
Yeah.
sometimes you can't pump.
Sometimes you can't pump, dude. I can't pump when I'm reeling right-handed. Reeling right-handed, I don't get it. I don't get what people
We get a
do
little
that.
wild spin action this year
Yeah.
too.
Dude, I don't care what kind of fishing you're doing. Right-handed reeling is crazy. If
Yeah.
you're a true right-handed person, right-handed reeling is crazy.
I could see it though with the GT stuff. I could see
Okay,
a use for it because you know, just I don't know, you're fishing with your right hand the whole day, and that 11, 12 weight is
Sure.
heavy.
Sure.
And when you hook up, I mean it's a battle.
But on spin, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Also, I don't know where to put the rod.
Also, I wish I had a belt. I wish
I had a
Brooksy
belt.
had a belt that was big enough to fit my fat ass.
Yeah.
Because then I feel like I would have really been able to pump.
Yeah. Come to Brooksy.
Yeah.
Come to Brooksy.
I was just jamming it like left and right, like, you know, into places that don't need a rod jammed into them, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
What was your favorite fishing?
Really quick, I was just gonna say with the popper thing,
Yeah.
I think it was really epic because it's a mix of dry fly fishing and streamer fishing.
Yep.
Where you're fishing a big, you know, as if you're fishing a big salmon fly or a hopper, and you're trying to hit the bank, right? You're trying to get as close to the bank as you can, and you're looking for structure to move it by.
Yeah.
And then they explode on it and eat it. You're kind of twitching it like a streamer too.
Right.
And then when they eat it, I mean, I've never had a fish bend over an A weight
Yeah.
like that.
Torqued.
Torqued, dude.
Fully torqued.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Um,
And like
that was incredible.
hooking a big one is noticeable.
Yeah, and I don't think we realized it was going to be as epic as it was. It was a
Yeah.
very straightforward day. We're just gonna we're gonna float
Yeah.
point A to point B with this guy Tanner that we had never met.
Yeah.
Just talked to on
He's
Instagram.
taller
Standard
than
weather conditions,
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah.
Yep.
But I mean, that was the first time I had been back to Minnesota with a fly rod, and so because that's where I grew up fishing.
Yeah.
You know, first 12, 13 years of my life was in Minnesota.
Hadn't it just rained though? It had just rained a
Yeah.
couple days, and there was concern about that.
Okay.
And it started off a little slow.
It poured on us our
Yeah.
first day.
It started off a little slow that day, and it was like, oh god,
Yeah.
like I'm not I'm not the smallmouth guy on the Mississippi, but I feel like that should have been a fish.
You drove across the country for this?
Yeah, like oh god, it's not gonna happen. Oh god.
Yeah.
What about a trout memory from the year or a trout one you're looking forward to?
Yeah.
Tell us about your
That's a pretty good one.
Which one?
BB, the PB, big brown.
Oh,
the PB.
So I am working on that edit right now.
Yeah.
And the idea was my brother just graduated college. And
Shout out to Johnny.
Shout out to Johnny.
Yeah.
And I wanted to bring him out west for, some like a true trout road trip. And I just got in the Harker camper got on and had been testing it out a little bit. And so he came out in July and we did just a classic western road trip up to Idaho and Wyoming and spent 5 days living out of the camper. And it was the first trip that I had actually been on with Johnny. That was just him and I.
Yeah,
And we realized on the last day, and we're like, we got to do this more.
that's cool.
And so it was really cool to bring him into the world a little bit and see kind of what I do.
Bring him into the world.
Just bring him into the world.
Yeah,
Your world.
gave birth to him.
Welcome to my world. Yeah. Well,
Welcome,
it'll
Johnny.
actually be a pretty cool story because Johnny, he was a preemie. He was born at 24 weeks, 1.8 or 1 pound 8 ounces.
24 weeks.
Yeah, he was.
Dang.
He
Crazy.
really wasn't supposed to survive or be able to function.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a miracle that he's here in the first place and what he's done.
I think what a like term is like 38 weeks or something like that.
Yeah. He was supposed to be
That's
born in August.
crazy.
He was born on 4/20, April 20th.
Sick.
So, and he has asthma. But anyways, beyond the point. The fishing was cool. It was we got to do a variety. We got to do some cutthroat small stream stuff, which was sick. He got to catch his first Snake River cutthroat. And, we had a couple bears run into our camp one morning, which was sick. And then, we got to do a float with our buddy James, and he caught his PBs, just kept upping fish with everyone. And then I got a little revenge on a big old brown trout that I had a thing with, and we got it done. So
Just had to show him older brother knows what's going on.
yeah, I was like,
Welcome to my world, Johnny.
You're welcome.
I'm just being excellent over here.
It was funny because a couple of the times when, I'm not a guide, right? But I trying to teach my brother and trying to get him up to par.
Yeah.
I'd say a guide could probably do it better than I did because I get a little frustrated at times. I'm like,
sure.
Come on, dude.
There's a reason there are guides.
Yeah. And there's that little that brotherly like, dude, come on. And so there's a few times where I picked up the rod to say, hey, all right, here's how you do it, or hey, I'm just gonna cast into this hole really quick because I was just behind the camera like, all right, I want to fish. But the 2 times in particular where I showed him something, I hooked into huge cutthroat.
Yeah.
And I was just like, classic.
Big deal.
And I was happy about it, but at the same time, like, come on.
This is how you do it, Johnny?
Yeah.
You wanna bring him in for me?
Yeah. So it was cool to see him throughout the week progress and then eventually nail a huge brown trout on the float. But that one's really cool. That one's going to be a really special film and was a really special trip beyond the fishing. Yeah. And we got to cook some good meals and just the whole experience of that summer road trip where it's dawn till dusk.
Idyllic.
Yeah.
Iconic.
No other care in the world. We're just out here fishing.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
And I think this is something this is our theory, and I don't know if this is necessarily true or not, but this is the thought is, we're all fishing throughout the summer months typically because it's longer days and warm weather and it's a short window for a lot of us.
Better than the winter.
Yep. And I think there's just more people watching YouTube in the winter when they have time. Yep. I think people are out late fishing or biking or whatever they're doing. Yep. I barely watch Netflix or YouTube or whatever in the summer, I find.
Because you're frothing.
Yeah. Frothed up.
Yeah. It's light out from like 6 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Right. There's lots of time for activities.
What time to watch? You got to sleep during those hours.
Yeah, sleep at some point, right?
Right.
But I think the theory is, and it kind of works out with our filming schedule, is, maybe less uploads in the summer and then more uploads fall into winter or winter, spring. And I think there's just more people watching.
Yeah. 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 So that's a good point. We're, the goal now is to post a lot of videos between now and May. Yep. And then probably take an off season, June, July, August.
To film and work.
Film. Yeah. But maybe only have one post a month going out then. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Hopefully.
Yeah.
And then, go do a bunch of trips, film a bunch of stuff, and then ramp the posts back up, going through winter.
Yeah.
Is this the first time you've scheduled last year we kind of scheduled a fishing season in the middle of summer, but I still feel like we were trying to get edits done and it was a bit chaotic. Are you excited to have a low season or a slow season of editing?
Yeah, I think you need breaks, right? You need to build breaks into the schedule, which is what we're going to end up having to do going forward because you just get burnt out. And I think the times I've gotten burnt out, it's trying to do too many things at once. Yeah. And I think really that's the pain point of all this is just, like launching Patreon this year, trying to handle merch, trying to get uploads, trying to plan this Boone film premiere, all the other, one-off things that happen. And it's fun, but you also gotta plan for your mental side of things.
Yeah.
How much can you actually handle?
Didn't you get a text? Were you in a text conversation this week where you apologized? So sorry, I've been busy. And then the person texted back and said, Scotty, you're always busy.
Your life's just busy.
yeah, your life's just busy.
Like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It's a tough life romping around the world, catching fish and doing it. But there is a lot of there's a lot of real stuff that goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the excitement for fishing is what drives it all, right? And especially when you get me all fired up, or any of us get all fired up,
Right.
you think you want to do it all,
Right.
And I heard this term recently called format FOMO that I really resonated with, and they're referring to YouTubers and how you look at someone else's channel and you're like, man, that's a good format that they have. Like, dang, I wish we had that, And I'd never heard it defined like that, but I do get that a lot of times. You'll watch other YouTubers or other people and creators, and like, man, they really figured it out, the format. And I think we're getting there. I think we're still experimenting with different formats. You see a long form project like JD, where it's like a documentary.
Right.
But it's more open ended, whereas a lot of the videos that we're going into shooting this year are going to be more intentional.
Yeah,
I feel like,
for sure.
And I think that'll help with the burnout and help with the keeping up with the consistency.
Yeah.
But I think a huge part of all this, to continue doing this on a long-term basis, is just building the team and having the right people around to handle things. And, we've talked about this. It's funny how, I got into this as a creator and a fisherman. Right? I just love filming stuff and fishing. And then obviously I'm an entrepreneur as well, but then this year there was moments where I felt like a manager, and I felt like I was
had to manage a 40-year-old fat man.
Yeah, exactly.
Tough job.
Tough job. Turns out 40-year-olds are still kids, everybody.
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, you then become like a manager, right? And that becomes it's a new skill that I have to learn.
Sure.
Instead of when it's just me, it's like, oh, I'll just make the video and then I'll put it out and then I'll do the next thing and then whatever.
Right.
So I think figuring out how to live in between those worlds is a growing pain.
Yeah.
But will be good.
No.
Good for me.
Coming right along.
Coming right along.
You're doing fine, Scotty. You're doing fine.
Yeah.
It's funny. I got into. I made a pretty unconscious choice to get into filming fly fishing. Like originally, I started I just wanted to see my cast. It was just like simply a cast improvement plan. I was like, let me set up this camera and see how bad this tailing loop is. And then eventually it was like, I made a choice at some point because like I had some quote unquote success. And I made a choice at some point. I was like, I think I want to film and capture fly fishing because I think this is the way that I'll able to be around it more. I can be around fishing more. Like won't necessarily fish more, but I can be around it. And like, look, I knew I was going to get married and have kids and like do all the, suburban dad stuff. But like a lot of times when you look at people like that, they sometimes are making choices where they don't get to be out on the water as much. And like, that is ultimately what drives it. Like, I just want to be around fishing. I just want to froth up on some fishing. I want to get excited on some fishing and then share that with people. Cause like, I just think fishing's sick.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Predators are sick.
Predators are sick.
So sick.
Well, I think that's so much of it is just, it allows you to be in the thing more. And it also allows, like the Australia thing. When else would we have been able to just plan 2 weeks for us to hang out for 2 weeks in a different country and fish and be able to have that life experience at the end of the day?
Right.
It's like building that life resume with all these different trips. And
it's doable. Like, you don't have to be a YouTuber to go do that.
Right.
No.
Like, but this is one way to do so.
Yeah. Just figuring out ways.
Yep. Yeah, I would highly recommend get with your buddies plan a big scary trip and
Yep.
just go do it.
Well, that's the biggest thing is planning it. You know, when you put something on the calendar, and obviously I've learned a lot of this from you. When you put it on there, it can always change, right? But if you don't put it on there, you don't have that ability to say no to something.
Right.
You know, unless you're just really strong impulse control. But putting in all the,
Don't
you
know
know,
what that's like.
all the personal things this year of, okay, this wedding and this bachelor weekend, this whatever, this race, you know, like all these things. And then you have all the trips, even if they do change a little bit. Like Minnesota, that road trip, I remember there was a moment this year where I called you guys and was like, I don't know if we can do this. Like, I'm so burnt out. I'm so like, I feel like I'm getting to my tipping point of what I can handle. Because we were also getting through a couple edits and I don't know, it was stressful, but we had it
normal
planned.
life things going on.
Yeah, normal life things.
Right.
We had it planned and I think that really allowed us to be like, no, we're doing this. You know, you were able to handle some stuff while we were gone, and yeah, putting stuff in the calendar is cute. You're key.
Also
It's
cute.
cute too.
Did I
That's
say
super cute.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
So cute.
Adorable.
Yeah. Sorry guys, I had a little bit of caffeine today. I've been on it.
Scotty has 3 drinks going on right now. I just wanted to call attention to that. He has a cherry bubbly espresso that he made. We're gonna say really well, and his big old Nalgene. Like Scotty is, and he wonders why he has to take a Scotty all the time.
I think that's just genetics. I think I'm screwed there.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to, blame something else other than genetics.
I just,
Let's
know,
give
I
you an
would love
excuse.
to blame genetics too,
Yeah.
or I would love to not blame genetics,
Yeah.
but I think I'm out of luck there.
Shout out to Mr. Fernanger
Yeah,
for
and
those
this genetics.
genetics. Yeah.
What do we got going on? We what was the title of this thing? What's going to happen in 2025?
What to expect in 2025?
Yeah.
Have we covered it?
Uh,
Or do we need to
I
come
think
true with our promise here?
Yeah, I think we obviously don't have everything set in stone.
Yep.
But I mean, right before this podcast, we had a talk with one of the guys up in Michigan, from Schultz Outfitters, and trying to line up something with them to do it. Obviously, if you can't tell, we are very stoked on smallmouth.
Yeah. It'd be a real shame if we put that out in the public, and then didn't follow through. I think we have to follow through with
We
it
have
now.
to follow through.
Gosh darn, that sucks.
That sucks.
It's a real shame to go to Michigan in the summer.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, so
gosh,
maybe
smallmouth is
we
worse.
had kind of talked about this being a way for us to hold ourselves accountable a little bit, but also just like put some goals out there, knowing that, hey, we're going to set some lofty goals this year as far as how much we can post, how much we can fish. Feel like hopefully you guys would enjoy hearing a little bit of our goals, and we'll try and keep you up to date with like how the progress is going. You guys will obviously see uploads coming out. But yeah, that's the goal here. We'll see if we can keep the calendar going without pushing it back too far, but you guys think we got a chance? Or
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think to define it, I put out there is I want to upload 20 videos this year. And I think a healthy cadence for us, I think it's very unrealistic for us to do every week. Very unrealistic.
Right.
And
Fishing isn't a subject matter that allows for quick edits.
it can if you do it the right way.
Certainly.
Or if you do it a
Right.
certain way. I
You
think
look
there's-
at a lot of other activities, let's say golf or flying a plane, or there's like a defined time when you're shooting. When fishing is all day potentially.
Right. And maybe there is a format that we find one day that is
No.
weekly. But I think 20 videos is key every other week. And there's going to be probably the summer months will be maybe one a month. And that's going to be our prime. Usually our prime filming windows are really May through September, I would say. And especially in the West. So, yeah, I think you guys keep us accountable. We want and have a really good plan of doing this, and especially Ivan, you helping out and starting to take on some of the reins with editing.
Yep.
And yeah, we'll see how she goes. I think we're taking these first 4 months as a kind of a trial period to see how this feels and is this manageable with the existing ones we have to edit.
With the 10 videos to edit.
But I think it's going to give us it's given us a lot of good information going into shooting this coming year on what things we can trim out of our process, or how can we be more efficient and be smarter about our time.
Yeah, and still deliver the wildfly video you guys know and love.
The wildfly difference.
Yeah. So I do want to say a huge shout out to all of our Patreon members, everyone who has joined Patreon and supported there. That's been it's made a huge difference for us this year financially. And I think it's allowed us to, have you come on a little bit more, and hopefully the more that grows and the more consistently we can post, we'll be able to bring you on full time. And then because I think with fishing isn't like, okay, we're going to show up to the river on this day or these couple days and then we're going to go back. You know, it's usually planning out multiple day trip, but you don't know what that week's going to give you.
Yeah.
Right.
And you got to be flexible, but that also takes me out of the edit for a week. Right. So if you're able to edit while I'm gone filming or something, we can keep up with.
Yeah.
Look, you can show up to golf any time of the year. You can't show up to hit the salmon flies, but like 2 weeks a year,
Right.
Like that is the limit. One of the limitations with fly fishing, where it's like, man, the cool thing happens now. You got to be there.
You're dealing with nature,
right?
Instead
you got to be there. It makes scheduling more difficult, but I think I'm really confident that we've sort of put together a good model for this year, and I think we can do it.
Yeah,
things are looking up.
Nothing left but to do it.
Deep in the process.
Deep in the process. And all this talk, I am going to go take a pee.
Have a Scotty?
Y'all been talking about it. 1 second.
I always find like that comment that I made about like being like making the decision, because I remember like Tanner and I was like, I'm just going to be the guy who films. Like that's how I will be able to keep on going out fishing, right? Like that was the decision I made. This is the path for me to be on the water. And then like anytime I go on that like not anytime, I'm not going to talk about this a lot, but I felt like I started to badmouth other people's life choices, and I was like, oh God, abort. It's just about being intentional in life. Like shit.
I know. Yeah.
People who just become suburb people and they just don't go fishing. It's like, damn, dude, take it easy. Settle down, Ivan. I think I aborted pretty good, but like I almost went full. Y'all's life suck.
Yeah, I don't ever want to come across as that, and sometimes, like, that's not the intention.
Right? No, I don't think you've come close to that. I just felt myself coming close to that with that comment. I was like, I gotta get out of here with this. Well, because that's not a good. Like, yeah, I don't know.
We probably just keep rolling.
Badmouth people's choices,
Yeah, but I think to your point, you're just being intentional. You know what you like.
Right.
You could have kept being a biologist,
geologist,
and finished your thesis.
I could have,
but you're like, no, I'm spending all my time fishing. Why would I?
You were in a master's program,
dude. I finished. I have like straight A's in all the coursework. I have the thesis like essentially done. It's like maybe 2 weeks to a month left of work to do on the thesis. Now, mind you, there's probably can't finish it now. Like they probably wouldn't accept it now.
Roommates for 2 weeks, and I didn't know this.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Brent. You were sleeping a lot. Okay.
You're
a big sleeper.
Pro sleeper.
One of the best sleepers.
What about the night when you went to bed at like 6 p.m. and woke up at like 9 a.m. the next day?
Yeah.
Or something? You throw on your headphones. We're like, hey, we're going to dinner, and you're just out.
Dead to the world.
I remember that.
Yeah. That was impressive.
What's a highlight for you this year? Obviously Australia, but like if there's something specific about it that you remember.
I got to go to Arkansas to watch the JD concert, and watching you and JD's kind of friendship grow. It was really cool to see, obviously, just you and JD connect over music and creating stuff, but it's like every year there's a couple examples of just the wildfly universe and how like deep and authentic the connection is with people you film with, audience member. Like people that showed up to the film premieres. It's just quite apparent to me that there is no better connection between creator and audience, because we're all the same people anyway. But yeah, I just keep getting reminded in person, undeniably, that it's something special going on, and it's fun to kind of ride the coattails and just be around of what's going on. That's pretty fun.
Yeah, that was an amazing weekend.
Yeah.
And I think that project, obviously we harped on, oh my gosh, it took so long. We are super stoked and proud of the piece. And I think a lot of that was because of this friendship with JD and just wanting to do him justice, do his music justice, who he is,
Right.
and the relationship like justice. So I think that's what maybe held that project back a little bit. But I mean, that was an incredible weekend, getting to see his first headline show and then getting to release the film, and him now, just I was so excited for our audience to get to see who JD is,
Yeah.
and hear his music, because it is incredible. He's got such good tunes, and I think it really resonates with, our fans.
Totally.
And then, in November over Thanksgiving, this is the second year I'd done this. Been going down with some buddies in Beaufort, South Carolina, and Charleston, and we've just done a for fun red fishing week. And I think that was huge for, it was really, I guess, maybe impactful for me to have a trip where it was dedicated to just hanging and fishing with the boys.
Yeah.
And there was no stress on filming. We filmed a little vlog, but it was the last day. And
Available on Patreon.
yeah, available on Patreon if you want to see it. We deleted it in 24 hours, so if you missed it, sucks for you.
Available on Patreon.
You gotta have your notifications
Available
on.
on Patreon. Yeah.
But that weekend was so fun too, just having JD come down last minute from Nashville and getting to hang with the boys, and just, I think, being around fishy people like that for a couple of days, it's nice to go into that world and just be all consumed by it. And then you just I felt so energized from it.
Yeah.
Totally.
What was your favorite? Did we already cover that?
Maybe.
Favorite moment from the year?
Yeah, we did.
It had to be the PB Brown.
We did
or the
cover
GT.
that. Yeah.
I
Getting
think,
old
yeah,
and
I think
senile over
Australia
here.
was
Yeah.
it was hard to beat.
Yeah.
Catching a GT on the Great Barrier Reef. I mean, that's you tell 16, 15-year-old Scotty that, and he wouldn't believe you.
Yeah, no doubt.
Pinnacle of the apex,
Pinnacle.
as old Phelpsy would say.
Yeah. Good, Ivan.
Yeah. Good.
Oh, one other thing for me anyway, selfishly, getting to tag along and learn to shoot photos. You kind of let me go to these epic places and these epic scenes and kind of figure out how to shoot photos, which has been fun. And
Lots
the
of
past year,
trees.
yeah, lots of trees, lots of good tree
Lots
pictures.
of middle fingers from the Brooks.
Yeah, so that's been fun. Thanks for that.
Well, you've put a lot of time in on your own to I mean, that's obviously a huge passion of yours, is film photography. And so I felt like Australia, you've gotten into medium format filming or film photography, and Australia was your chance to really test that out on a big trip.
Right.
And the photos are insane that we got.
Oh, thanks.
It's
Yeah.
and to have them in film, man, it hits so much harder. And just the sound of the Pentax.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It's oh my gosh,
Yeah.
dude.
Shout out Amy
Euphoria.
for the recommendation.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure some of you guys have seen those photos on Instagram, and we'll continue to push them out as we get closer to releasing that film. But yeah, that was amazing. And
That was
I think
fun.
what was cool in that trip is we had very clear roles, right?
Yeah.
It's all right, Brent, you're taking the reins in photography and shooting.
And I'm going to bring my old manual
And he brought
piece of crap.
he brought 85 rolls of film, all of which got sent through the X-ray machine on the way back,
Oh, yeah.
which was a tough scene.
Even after saying, don't run this through the
Yeah.
X-ray machine. She's like, all right.
Yeah, we won't run them through. Show up to the other side. They're popping out of the X-ray machine. Ugh.
I usually have too heavy of a bag, and it's okay, I'm bringing a lot of video stuff. You had too heavy of a bag, and it was like, man, this is outrageous. Like, he has an 11-pound camera. The camera is 11 pounds on its own. The film is I've never seen so much film in my life.
I know.
Well, I definitely overshot. I think I brought like 50 rolls,
Yeah,
and I
but
only shot 20.
when do you go to Australia and sit on a boat for 14 straight days?
Yeah,
I've never done that before.
Yeah,
I'd
rather
love to
bring
do it
too
again.
much. Could you imagine being out there and like being out of film?
That would be a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And guess what? There was no disaster.
No disaster.
Yeah.
Did have to
This man was
transport
prepared.
more than half of the film there and back
Yeah.
for no good reason.
But you're a big strapping lad. You were able to carry it no problem, brother.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And also to shoot boat stuff for 14 days, I mean, you got to get a little creative because at a certain point, you only have so many angles.
Yeah.
Right.
So, you did a good job of, hey, can I get out of the boat here? There's probably a bull shark in between me and the shore, but can I get out real quick?
Right.
There's
was
literally a
pretty funny.
point when you were wade fishing at the permit flat where we stayed on the boat, you jumped out and you were fishing, and we go out a little deeper, and no joke, there is a 8-foot bull shark just cruising the shore. I was
Thanks
like,
for the
wow.
heads up, fellas.
Yeah.
Well, you don't want to panic and make a lot of noise. So we just went with like no information.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were shallow.
Yeah, you were
enough, too.
fine,
You were close
dude,
enough
you're
to shore.
You were fine.
I remember I got off on that white sandy beach to go shoot some photos like off the boat. And I'm like looking through the camera. I see Ivan and Brooksy on the boat. And then I like pan over a little bit. And there's Scotty just like neck
Chest
deep in the
deep.
water
Yeah.
fishing right where you're describing where the bull trout
Yeah,
was.
the
Or bull
Shark,
shark, whatever.
Be sick if it was a bull trout though.
Yeah.
That was a bit of a Scotty got unleashed. Like Scotty been wanting to get off the boat. Like he's a roamer.
I'm a boat walker.
Yeah,
dude.
you're
What
a
can I
boat
say?
walker. You're a boat walker, but you're also a roamer. You like to roam.
I can't sit still.
Yeah, you like
It's
to roam.
amazing.
You want to see some stuff. And so we had been on the boat for like at that point it was 13 days, and Scotty got out of the boat, and man, he was neck deep in no time.
I was not
and
neck deep.
making like 80 like
Let's be
making
clear.
making like bomb cat like trying to make the most bomb cats of all time. Just like he's just riled up. I loved it.
I was so determined. I was like, I'm getting off this boat. I'm gonna catch my first permit
Yeah.
on the flats by myself. And I had some really good shots. I'll be completely honest. I did hook one. Well, I didn't hook a permit. It was a little jack thing. But
Yeah.
you guys were over there, and you're like, oh my god, he's hooked up.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this
You're
is
like, did he do it?
Yeah. And it just was not a permit. I knew the second he ate it too. I was like, oh, it's not a permit.
Meanwhile, I was on the boat lobbing that like depth charge of a crab with the worst loop of all time. Like you can't throw a type loop with
Well,
that
we
crab.
had to have like a 20-foot leader on it.
Right.
And
So I was like throwing some horrible casts. Brooksy was yelling at me. I was getting too excited. That was quite an like. I don't think we captured that scene like entirely too well. Like we were all pretty off in our own worlds. But that was like a very memorable moment for me, where it was just like we are all like fully activated, doing our own thing, and like it is sort of chaos. There are
There was
dangerous
permit.
predators everywhere. There are permit everywhere.
That was insane.
We are like, we're in it. We're in the thickness of it, and like, our brains are just just short circuiting left and right. Like we were
glitching
it was
out.
like we were completely glitched out.
tweaking.
Yeah.
Perma-
Pretty good,
Perma
pretty
brain
fun.
took over.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a pretty bad case of that.
Yeah. But you were also in GT land trying to fish for a predator. And you didn't.
I
You
read-
forgot all your
I read a
perma
book
ways.
this time, and it told me that for GTs you got to present fast, and I just applied that to every fish in the ocean. I went there with one mission, and it was to present flies quickly. I think I achieved it.
To
I
your credit,
achieved that.
you achieved it fairly quickly.
Yeah. Well, I achieved just like presenting flies to fish fast. I achieved that throughout the trip. I was very good at that task.
Mm-hmm.
So like, shout out to me for being very task motivated.
How about the amount of bow time? You were so efficient with your bow time.
At times I was efficient. Yeah. I mean, I would say I was efficient in making something happen that would either kick me off the front or I would have to seed the front because I had caught a fish. So it was one or the other. I wasn't
You would get up and stand there for no more than like 10 minutes, and your turn would be over.
Yeah, I'd miss a fish or I'd catch a fish.
Yep.
And towards the end, there was a lot of missing. But I have made a challenge to Scotty that like I would like to like I don't need to show up in a lot of wildfly films. Like I'm fine being behind the camera, but I do want
more of the big horse.
I do want to be. I don't want to be put in the situation where I'm only show up in the saltwater videos. Cause like, man, that's a horrible place to be, dude. Like saltwater video, that's the most challenging fishing for a freshwater angler who doesn't spend a lot of time doing it. You're just like, man, I'm going to fail left and right. And look, I love failure. I think failure is a great part of fly fishing, but I want to have a little bit more success on camera.
Yeah. Does the audience want to see Ivan?
Ivan wants a little bit more success.
I think what we need is we need to get us three on a boat, put Ivan on the front. I'll take the sticks on the lens. And let's just let the man go to work.
Yeah. Put him in the kitchen. Let him cook.
Yeah. If he's talking this big game about streamers,
I'm not talking a huge game about streamers. I just, man, like I know I'm better at streamer fishing than I am at fishing for Tusky. You know, I'm not saying I'm the world's best trout angler. I just know I'm better at trout fishing than I am at saltwater fishing, and I just can't be putting out all this bad tape. Like the
7-year-old
Brent's dad is writing my like recruiting, like he's writing out like all my strengths and weaknesses for sending it to colleges, and like Brent's dad doesn't have a lot of great material to go off right now. Like he can't talk to his scouts and say like, oh yeah, Ivan has great potential to be a great angler. And, like the scouts are saying like, man, he sort of sucks. You know.
Kind of costing the company a lot of money.
Yeah, like
flights, having to extend the trip,
missing it. You know, like golly, like he shows a great ability to miss fish. Like that's not a great thing to put on the. You know, I'm like a 1-star recruit right now.
Dude, we got to put some sizzle on the Ivan recruiting reel.
Yes, yes.
I'd love that. I mean, it obviously depends on me being good at fishing, but like.
Well, we got to get. I
just want to feel more comfortable in front of camera.
Put you in, coach.
Yeah, I just want to feel more comfortable in front of camera. Like I sort of know what I'm talking about with trout. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Dude, that's what we should do for
saltwater.
For like a micro, either a merch ad or a apparel ad or a
apparel ad, yes.
Or like just it needs to be him catching a trout and then flexing like he was in front of Magnums.
Just going through the training program and then wearing a headband. Get him in a headband or something. Yeah. And then you're just smoking trout.
I don't come out of retirement for drinking for everything, but I would for that. I was kidding.
Had a fun night out in the town with old Brooksy.
Yeah, old Brooksy. I mean, that was a good time. Mm-hmm. We just successfully got some cool shots that, like, for me at least, were like grail shots. Like, I didn't think I'd ever have an opportunity, and then if I did, like, what if I messed it up?
A long lens, like, zoom shot of a GT eating.
Right. I didn't want to. I didn't know if we wanted to talk about it, but yeah, like I nailed some shots.
It's on the internet.
That's true. It is. I nailed some shots, and that evening was like, man, pretty activated.
Yeah,
pretty activated.
Yep. I mean,
huge relief, great excitement.
There's going to be some of the best footage that you've seen on the channel yet in that film.
Yeah,
in those, all the films really. What's cool too is I think one of the things we talked about this week too is series. Like series are tricky on YouTube, and I think because of maybe the retention of the audience, when it's posted separately, a sequential series, right? That's chronological. And it can be done. People have done it well. We've done it well in the past, but Birthday Bones, for example, we had the expectation that we were going to get them out in a certain date range, but then life happens, stuff happens, things came up, and that wasn't the case, and so it was kind of spaced out. And so with Minnesota and with Australia, we did a little different approaches here, where we went in with the intention of let's shoot 3 separate videos that have their own storylines, but are still somewhat connected.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see how that kind of how people respond to
how
that.
Tell us
if you like it.
Yeah, how it's received.
And I think series are great for the right trips. If a longer extended trip, it's hard to just cut everything to put it into one film.
For sure.
And being able to break it up is good, but I think the program is, if you do a series, edit more of it ahead of time
Yeah.
or block out the time so you can put it out weekly or something.
Yeah.
But anyways, we've talked a lot about 2024 on this because that is what the first half of our year is really going to look like or that you guys are going to see on YouTube is essentially what we, the fruits of our labor this year, which is going to be awesome. But I do think looking into this year, expect new species, to keep coming up. I know we've talked about carp.
Yep.
We talked about doing, redfish, like Louisiana redfish.
Yep.
I've never been there. And obviously smallies in Michigan. And we're still working on
strains of cutthroat potentially.
Yeah, different strains of cutthroat and working
Some
on
of
a
them
bigger.
larger than others, maybe. Hopefully.
This is true.
Yep.
Big.
Yes.
Huge.
And we're also gonna hopefully have a big, trip or two that is more destination based. Still working on the details of that.
Scotty, at one point during this powwow meeting that we've had for the last couple of days, you said if we hit our goal, we'll have a boys trip.
This is true.
Can Brent and I be roommates again if we hit 20?
I'll say now on record, if we can hit our goal, especially before December, if we hit 20 videos before December, we're taking the boys and we're doing a big old trip somewhere.
Roommates again, brother.
Get it on.
Big destination trip. We have to. That'll be the
Brent
reward.
gets to listen to my CPAP.
I'm a pro sleeper, dude.
That
son.
is true. That is true. He is a pro sleeper. That's true.
But we have no power. We have no power tonight.
No eagle powers.
Oh, that's so good.
JD. That's the reason I bought these, so shout out to JD.
Shout out to JD. Do you have the gold chain on today or no?
Of course I do, dude.
Why has the gold chain not been out, dude?
Because sometimes you gotta leave your $15 chain underneath the t-shirt,
Humble brag.
Don't want to brag. Big wildfly money over here. $15 chain, no big deal. 15. I want to make that clear. 15.
15 in this economy.
Yeah, not 50. 15. Not a baller out here,
Not to flex on you guys or anything. This is deep in the podcast.
I've got childcare to pay for. $15 for a chain probably was too much, if we're being honest.
You could have gone to a Chick-fil-A dinner with Luca.
That's true. Could have gone to weekly date night with Luke's, the old Lukester, which Scotty got to take part in.
I did.
And he showed me some Chick-fil-A secrets. Shout out to Johnny, who shared those secrets with you.
Johnny used to work there,
Yeah. Do you want to hit people with one of those secrets?
I mean, this isn't anything crazy, but I'll just say two of the best sauces at Chick-fil-A: avocado lime ranch and creamy salsa. Now they're salad dressings, so they're not typically on the normal options. But if you just ask for them,
we are deep.
They're really good, dude. That'll make your Chick-fil-A sandwich go to a different level.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I'm not really a huge Chick-fil-A sauce guy.
Yeah.
It's like if it's been in the fridge at home, my mom brings home Chick-fil-A, and she didn't get sauce, sure, I'll dip it in the Chick-fil-A sauce.
Yeah.
But
and on that bombshell.
That's a very specific scenario that we're deep into.
This is, we're an hour and a half or whatever, how long we're in. This is, if you've been watching for this long, you deserve to know that the creamy salsa and the lime avocado ranch are just dynamite sauces. I'm a standard sauce guy. Like I put buffalo sauce on my crispy chicken sandwich, dip it in a little ranch. I have my Chick-fil-A sauce. I was not aware that this was even a possibility. This was like secret menu stuff. I felt like I felt so special and cared for
right now.
I was unaware that this was a thing where you take the bun off.
Yeah.
You put the Chick-fil-A sandwich back into the bag.
Yeah.
And then you pour buffalo sauce.
You pour buffalo sauce and you shake it, and it makes it a buffalo chicken sandwich.
And then you got to eat that thing with a fork then?
No, then you put it back
on the bun. Then you put it back on the bun.
Oh, you just put the
I'm just applying the sauce.
Okay.
But you shake
I thought
it.
You were putting sauce on the outside of the bun. That's just psychopath.
Psycho.
Brent, we were roommates, dude. Like,
there's
come on,
no
man.
Chick-fil-A.
You never saw any kind of that behavior.
Only Macca's.
Yeah, you never saw any kind of that psychopath behavior, Brent. Come on, trust me. I'm not crazy.
I was concerned.
So you shake the bag and then you put the chicken back on it, and you've got a buffalo chicken sandwich, a spicy buffalo chicken sandwich.
Pretty good chicken burger.
Yeah, but that was like
Biss?
I do this weekly dinner with Luca when my eldest goes to Girl Scouts, and Luca loves Chick-fil-A, and now I've added something to the roster. Those sauces were great.
That's
Wow.
strong.
Wow.
You're
Which is
showing
like
her-
normally, like as a young man who's in shape, you wouldn't expect to get a fat guy tip like that.
Dude, this is what the people need.
Right. And so I was very pleased to get a fat guy tip from a not fat guy. It's like, damn, this is a great fat guy tip.
Like,
Like,
hey, you
only
wanna-
fat guys know this
You
stuff.
want to add more calories to your
Yeah,
Chick-fil-A
yeah.
sandwich?
I do. How'd you know?
I also can't believe that we probably had McDonald's more in Australia than I've had the entire year.
Dude, by far.
And
What
kind of hit.
goes better after like 12, 14 hours on the boat?
That's
though?
true.
Yeah.
So
I think you're just mentally fried.
Yeah.
When I was just down in Buford, just on the skiff. One, I forgot how small a skiff is compared to Brooksy's boat.
Yeah.
And they didn't have the bars, right? So we were hitting some waves. And when we were riding on Brooksy's boat with that bar and you and I were standing, it was like a rodeo. It was like standing and, trying to hit the waves right for 2.5 hours to get to the reef.
Yep. More on that.
More on that later.
Yeah.
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 Well,
Yeah,
nothing
the
else.
Macca's was also, but we had Macca's a lot, but I do think it's important to note the serving size is much smaller there. The large was essentially a small or a medium.
Yeah.
It's almost like we
No
have.
supersize.
It's almost
What a
like
theory.
our food is too much here. It's almost. I don't want to go that far. Other people have much healthier than I have, but
Yeah, you had to double up the order.
it was not like we had. It is the most time I've visited McDonald's, but like maybe it wasn't the most food I've had though. It was a very small amount.
I don't think the American Seppos are known to
For
be the healthiest
Yeah,
from the rest of the world.
for sure. Agreed. These are large dickies I've got on.
We just got to get you on a bike pack, and then you can train and you'll dial it in.
Yeah, for sure.
Just eating mountain houses.
I'm gonna start playing pickleball with old Brent over here.
Oh yeah.
I'm
Any
gonna
challenges
leave
in
my
Denver,
children
bring it
for multiple hours at night. Like they'll put themselves to bed, but I'll be pickleballing with Brent.
Just be pickling.
Yeah.
That'd be wonderful.
Yeah, more pickle 2025. Pickleball. Let's just be clear, everybody. All right. Well, do you guys have any other thoughts to close this out? I guess let's just close with this. What are you most excited about for next year? We're a couple days away from next year. We're like a week out, 2 weeks out.
I mean, I would like to say all the videos we're gonna put out, but like we just got off the phone with Nick, and I'm very excited about Michigan Smallmouth. I think that's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
If it all works out how we were talking about, ooh boy.
I'm excited for the boys trip when you guys get 20.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Where are we going? Where
Yeah.
are we going?
It's true. We do have some time to think about that in the edit cave.
Are we thinking salt?
I vote Golden Dorado.
Ooh,
That's on my list.
Yes.
Ooh,
That's a pretty resounding yes.
Should we
I love that.
put it now and everyone on here, all the audience can keep us accountable this year?
Yeah.
Boys trip
Please.
to Bolivia
please.
for Golden Dorado. If we hit 20 videos this year,
Make
Okay.
them edit faster.
All right. I'm just gonna send the singular clip. Like this is the video. It's just one clip. I did it, Scotty. We're ready. It's ready to publish. It's a story. It's one clip.
it counts as a video.
Yeah.
Let's do it. 20 videos this year. Let's
Lock it.
let's
in.
keep crushing and let's hit 300,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
Clip
20
it.
videos and 300,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We're absolutely going to Bolivia. No questions
Heck
asked.
yeah.
Clip it.
Do it. Do it.
All right, let's do
There it is. Well, you guys go enjoy your Chick-fil-A sandwiches. You can thank us for all the improvements in your experience there. And thanks again to Patreon members for being a part of that. If you guys want to support us there, the link is down below. Just go to patreon.com/wildfly.
Yep.
And if you see us slacking this year, let us know. Drop a comment, drop a message.
Keep on them.
Keep us on. Keep
Yeah.
us on.
DM us.
Yeah.
Tell us, hey man, we need more.
Yes.
Yeah.
And do let us know in the comments, what do you guys think about podcast on main channel versus podcast channel? I'm trying to figure that out.
Yep.
For sure.
Anyways.
All right. Shout out to Maggie for the set decoration.
Yeah. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah.
Y'all be good. See y'all in 2025.
See ya.
Peace.